From the retired boxer taking constant jabs at the Irishman, to McGregor agreeing to fight him with a smile emoji. Here's why and how Carl Froch challenged McGregor to an MMA fight. It all started when the former two-time WBC super middleweight champion Carl Froch took a jab at the Irishman's fighting style. Last year, in a random interview, the former boxer reignited his feud with the Notorious by saying that he can't fight.
McGregor can't punch. Can't punch the skin off a rice pudding. I was there when he boxed Floyd Mayweather. There's a guy from Liverpool called...
It wasn't just that. He said that McGregor couldn't even punch the skin off of a rice pudding. The clip came up again while he was doing the show for the fight between Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua for the World Heavyweight title. Now, Froch was recently admitted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame for his successes in the sport, which includes beating George Groves in a historic rematch in 2014. The English star now is a sports analyst, so why would a retired boxer take a jab at the Irishman during his fight?
And Silva was good to watch. He was like, is he even still going? He kind of got me into it.
I think it was all intentional even back then. I think the boxing legend wants to get back into action, and this time in MMA. And who's easier to trigger in MMA than the Notorious, right? And if stirring the pot was his plan, he sure did succeed. Both men took to Twitter to say what they didn't like about each other. And what's interesting was that Froch seemed to answer during the show, probably when there was a break. And if that wasn't enough, Froch again sent a tweet that reported the same thing he said before in an attempt to get Conor angry again. He did that in reaction to a video of McGregor training before his return to the ring, and we all know how easy it is to rile the Irishman up. The MMA fighter then called Froch a pencil neck. What he wanted to imply was that the retired boxer was too skinny, I guess. Anyway, he then proceeded to say that he'll twist the boxer's neck in a go, and it wouldn't be a thing for him. And of course, he called the ex-boxer a toffee-nosed tosspot. I don't even know what he meant by that, but it sure sounds like something McGregor would say to piss someone off. That wasn't the end of the bickering, though. So Froch replied to his tweet that day and called Conor a smart-mouthed little prick, and then he challenged him to a fight, saying that he'll show him how the big boys do it. Now, Carl made his name as a multiple-weight world champion at super middleweight, which in MMA terms is pretty much the same as a welterweight. So I think Froch versus McGregor might be worth a watch. But he's a boxer, and MMA is a lot different in many ways. So when he was asked about the whole situation in an interview, he emphasized that he's always liked MMA as a sport. He further said that he's always wanted to get into mixed martial arts, but boxing was something he was already familiar with, and that he's trying to get into the world of mixed martial arts, and he tries to watch as many matches as possible to learn.
Knowledge on mixed martial arts. I watch a fight and I won't know who I'm watching, but I watch it and I watch it back again because it gets brutal in this.
He also expressed that he doesn't know much about the world of MMA. At times, he watches matches and doesn't even know who's fighting who, and then he does his research on it. I mean, he does sound pretty ambitious. The Hall of Fame ex-boxer respects MMA fighters. He believes that the sport can be tough, and he always had a lot of admiration for the MMA fighters. But then again, he said it was one of these times when he was watching McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather that he got pissed. He said that he realized it watching the match that the Notorious doesn't know how to punch, and it was underwhelming to watch, which made the Irishman so angry that he took to the social media and started all this social media bickering between the two. Froch said that he wears 10-ounce gloves in a boxing match as compared to small hand mitts in the UFC.
I mean, we wear gloves in boxing, 10-ounce gloves, they wear little hand mitts. And all right, they're not massive punchers.
This gives trained boxers leverage over MMA fighters when it comes to punching. But then he also acknowledged that in MMA, your opponent can give you knees to the head and spin kicks.
They kick you in the face and they knee you in the head and do these spinning kicks. And then they get you on the floor and fuck you up, sorry the language, but they mess you up.
Which boxers aren't even trained to tackle. So you win some and you lose some, right? Anyway, he ended that interview by saying that he likes and cares about MMA fighters. and then again said that if the MMA sensation faced him in a boxing match, he would mess him up. That brings me to his recent interview. Carl Froch said that he could beat Conor McGregor in both a boxing match and a mixed martial arts fight. I mean, that's a jump. Previously, he said that he could only face him in a boxing match. And even if that was happening, Froch, who is 44, hasn't fought since he retired. And he retired as the unified super middleweight title way back in 2014. Former UFC king, on the other hand, is getting ready for his first fight since July 2021. It's also important to note that McGregor broke his leg in his last fight, which was the second straight loss to Dustin Poirier. And the Irishman will now fight Michael Chandler later this year. But even then, a retired boxer calling out an MMA fighter who has been constantly facing fighters in the octagon. Now, this can go either bad or it could give us the watch of the century, if you ask me. And the boxing legend doesn't think that it would be a tough task for him to defeat McGregor in the octagon if it happens, which I think could be just another attempt to piss off the Irishman. He said that if he were to fight the Irishman in MMA, he might have a few minor issues, but he seems quite confident that he'd beat McGregor fairly easily, because Carl thinks he is too small. What's more, he said that he might train just a bit only if he was to fight the 34-year-old fighter in the cage. Otherwise, he wouldn't even train at all. But he wants to face him in the cage, and he's sure that he'll come out as a winner. Now, that's just his side. The Irishman had a rather more affirmative response to it. Replying to the boxer's tweet, he told boxing manager Eddie Hearn to get this fight signed up with a smile emoji. Now, throughout his professional career, Froch fought at 168 pounds. McGregor, on the other hand, has won titles at 145 pounds and 155 pounds, and has fought many times at 170 pounds. But MMA athletes usually lose a lot more weight than boxers, so Conor's fight day weights have been higher. Also, since his last fight, the Irishman has put on a lot of weight. All in all, I do think if the fight happens, it'll be fun. And the build-up itself has caused so much tension that fans are just hoping this happens. As far as their interactions, it seems that with every day passing, it's all just cooling down. Or at least that's what Carl said in an interview. He said that he has told McGregor that he was going to grab him by his beard and drag him outside. And the fact that the Notorious has now shaved his beard indicates that he doesn't want to face the retired boxer, and that he's given up on the idea as well. And then surprisingly, he said that he likes him and that the Irishman has good qualities that he appreciates. He even went ahead and said that people who dislike the Irishman are stupid, but if they were to face each other in a fight, whether it's a boxing match or MMA, Carl thinks he'll surely come out victorious. That's it on Carl Froch challenging the Irishman to an MMA fight.